Huh. Fools. They thought they could assassinate your reputation like it was some easy operation. They thought one rumor, one lie, one carefully edited clip would undo everything you've built. But what they never realized is your truth doesn't need defending. It exposes itself. Every word they twisted now wraps around their own throats. Every false story they planted is sprouting thorns under their feet. And the people who once stayed silent, they're starting to speak. Not out of pity, out of realization. Because when you tell enough lies about someone real, the lies start to rot in public. The decay smells loud, and suddenly, those same people who once doubted you are out here defending your name like it's sacred scripture. They've seen enough. They've connected the dots. They've realized whatever they said about you doesn't add up with what they see in front of them. The composure, the consistency, the way you never fought back with desperation, just with excellence, the way you stayed grounded when they expected you to break. You didn't scream, you didn't chase, you didn't beg anyone to believe you. You just kept producing undeniable evidence through your evolution. And now, it's undeniable. The haters are losing their grip. Their credibility is melting faster than the lies they told. Because in the world's eyes, anyone still trying to discredit you now just looks jealous, bitter, and outdated. You know what happens when the narrative collapses? The observers start investigating the investigators. The gossipers start being questioned about their own motives. Someone asks, "Wait, why were you so obsessed with discrediting them in the first place?" And that's where the collapse begins. Because the second people start asking why, the entire illusion disintegrates. People start noticing how every accusation came from the same few insecure voices, recycled through fake profiles, empty podcasts, or emotional cowards hiding behind opinions. They realized that every insult thrown your way was projection. Every critique was envy disguised as logic. And every story was built on a foundation of resentment. You didn't have to fight them. You just had to outlast them. And you did. You outlasted their outrage cycles, their manipulation campaigns, their fake sympathy traps. You didn't argue. You just kept moving, quietly proving them wrong by being everything they said you weren't. The world noticed. Because when truth moves in silence but powerfully, people feel it. And when the truth finally becomes obvious, the liars lose not just their influence but their entire identity. The funniest part, the same people who used to believe the rumors are now fighting for you. They're arguing online, calling out the haters in comment sections, shutting down false narratives before you even see them. You became a cause people rally behind. Because your story turned into evidence of what happens when integrity wins the long game. They've seen how unbothered you stayed, how your consistency crushed doubt better than any explanation could. And now, it's becoming trendy to defend you. It's cool to be on your side, the same way it was once cool to mock you. The tides flipped. Because the truth always makes a comeback, it just waits until the noise exhausts itself. You were patient. You played the long game while they were burning themselves out, trying to destroy you in short bursts. That's why you're still here, and they're not. They underestimated how fast reputation rebuilds when it's real. You can't destroy what's built on authenticity. They tried to bury you with narratives, but the roots of your truth broke through the soil. They forgot that real people recognize real pain, real growth, and real consistency. And those who once doubted you are now your loudest supporters, not because you convinced them, but because your life did. They can't unsee your evolution. They can't unhear the logic in your words. They can't deny the calm power that radiates from someone who's already been through public crucifixion and still rose without bitterness. That's what they can't process. You didn't just survive. You made the attack look like free advertising. They tried to kill your character and ended up making it legendary. Now the dynamic has shifted. Your haters speak, and people roll their eyes. They post, and no one believes them. They try to drag you again, and someone immediately comments, "Didn't we already debunk this last year?" The internet never forgets, and neither do the observers who watched your evolution in real time. You've built a timeline of receipts without saying a word. Your progress became your press release. Your growth became your PR campaign. Every success you achieved made another rumor obsolete. Every new milestone silenced a critic before you even needed to respond. You turned your existence into the most credible form of proof, and now even your silence carries authority. That's when the tables truly turn. When your name becomes too respected to lie about. When even your enemies hesitate before speaking, afraid they'll look foolish again. That's when you know you've reached psychological dominance. People are now quoting you. They're referencing your mindset in debates. They're calling you misunderstood, visionary, ahead of your time. You see it happening quietly. Old critics rewriting history, pretending they always saw your value. They're editing their old tweets, deleting their old posts, hoping nobody screenshots their hypocrisy. Because now it's not socially safe to hate you. It's embarrassing. You became a case study in resilience, a human mirror that exposes other people's fragility. They tried to cancel you, and now they're the ones being canceled for lying about you. That's how poetic justice works. It doesn't need an announcement. It unfolds naturally. The truth has gravity, and every falsehood eventually collapses under its own weight. You didn't push them off the cliff, they walked backward into it. What's beautiful is how organically this redemption arc is happening. You didn't beg for validation, you earned vindication. You didn't chase forgiveness, you embodied proof. That's the kind of power that can't be faked. Because every time they tried to smear you, you evolved in plain sight. Every attempt to define you only revealed how much you've outgrown their definitions. Every insult they threw reflected worse on them than it did on you. And now, people are connecting those dots out loud. You can see it in threads, comments, videos, private messages. Yo, they were wrong about you. Everything they said doesn't match who you really are. I used to believe it, but now I see. Those are the quiet confessions that rebuild legacies. That's how digital legends are born, not through hype, but through consistent exposure of truth. There's a shift happening. You can feel it. It's in the way people talk about you now. The tone changed. The skepticism is gone. Now it's awe, respect, even admiration. Because the longer you stay consistent, the harder it becomes for anyone to question you. You've built a track record that can't be denied. People who once doubted you are now using you as a benchmark for authenticity. You turned slander into credibility. You turned hate into evidence. And you turned every false rumor into fuel for your rise. That's why your haters are panicking. They can't compete with someone whose truth is self-sustaining. They can't outtalk your reputation because your presence speaks louder than their words. Look at how it's unfolding. They're starting to contradict themselves. One hater says one thing, another one says the opposite. Their lies don't align anymore. The narrative's collapsing under the weight of inconsistency. The audience sees it. The supporters see it. Even neutral observers are realizing that all the noise against you was coordinated, exaggerated, desperate. And now, those same haters are exposed by their own obsession. You've reached that level where your haters are your marketers. They mention your name so often, it raises curiosity. New people check your story and end up becoming fans. The Lie to Legend pipeline is complete. You didn't just survive the smear campaign, you monetized it in reputation currency. You weaponized exposure. You made their attention your advertisement. And it's only getting worse for them. Every new success you achieve invalidates their past accusations. Every person who defends you chips away at their influence. The balance of public opinion has flipped. The defenders outnumber the attackers. The energy is different now. You're not the one under investigation. They are. And people are starting to say it publicly. Funny how all the people who hated on them never built anything themselves. Notice how it's always the same bitter ones talking. You can tell who's jealous. Those comments are deadly because they dismantle the hate at its core. They reveal that envy was always the motive. And once people see that, it's game over. Because you can't fight someone whose only weapon is projection. Now, even those who don't know you personally feel protective of your name. That's how deep this redemption runs. Your energy, your composure, your results, it all radiates truth. It makes people want to defend it. They see themselves in your story. They see how unfairly you were treated and how gracefully you rose. You became the symbol of quiet justice, the embodiment of don't argue, just evolve. You turned every attack into a chapter of triumph. You made the narrative bend to your truth instead of letting their lies shape your story. That's a level of psychological control that few ever achieve. You didn't just win, you changed the game. And the irony? Your haters now have to live in the world they created. A world where your name is admired, respected, and defended by thousands. They built the stage for your legend while trying to bury you. Every attack added another layer to your mythos. Every attempt to humiliate you made you more relatable, more powerful, more untouchable. You became the hero of the observers and the villain of the envious, and that's the perfect balance. Because legends aren't loved universally, they're recognized universally. You've reached that stage where your existence is undeniable. And now, the people who once doubted you are correcting others on your behalf. The conversation flipped completely. Now every whisper of hate sounds weak compared to the roar of your supporters. Every attempt to drag your name down feels outdated. You've shifted the cultural momentum. You didn't just clear your name, you turned it into armor. You turned mockery into motivation and misunderstanding into magnetism. People aren't just defending you because you were wronged. They're defending you because you became the example of how truth wins in the long run. You became living proof that reputation is a reflection of persistence, not public opinion. And now, as your name keeps echoing through timelines and conversations, one thing is clear: the debate is over, the truth won. Because if this many people are defending you now, imagine what happens when your next move hits. Every new chapter you create rewrites the history they tried to weaponize against you. Every success you drop becomes a counter-argument they can't refute. The narrative they built around you wasn't designed to last. It was designed to distract. But distraction only works when the truth is still hidden. And your truth isn't hiding anymore. It's on full display, wrapped in undeniable proof. You've become too visible, too consistent, too self-evident. Even people who don't like you have to admit you were right. They don't want to, but they have no choice. The receipts are too clear. The results are too loud. The pattern is too precise. You've officially turned the rumor mill into your personal marketing team. Every attempt to drag your name now pushes more people to research you. And the moment they do, they see the difference between noise and reality. What's happening right now is psychological reversal. The haters' credibility is evaporating not because you exposed them, but because time did. People are noticing how their energy never evolves. They're still talking about the same thing while you're 10 milestones ahead. Their bitterness feels ancient compared to your progress. They look like fossils of envy, stuck in an era where you've already moved on. The audience sees that stagnation and subconsciously chooses sides. Because nobody wants to be associated with regression, people align themselves with forward motion, with authenticity, with evidence of evolution. That's why they're defending you now. It's not just loyalty, it's resonance. You represent movement. Your haters represent decay. And in every era, movement wins. Look at how subtle this shift was. It didn't come from an apology video or a PR statement. It came from your silence, your discipline, your refusal to stoop. You never tried to convince anyone. You let them convince themselves. You knew the moment people started comparing stories, the truth would reveal itself naturally. That's what's happening now. The defenders aren't acting out of emotion, they're acting out of observation. They've seen the inconsistency in your critics. They've noticed how every accusation lacked depth, how every claim collapsed under scrutiny. They started digging deeper, cross-checking timelines, replaying events, and realizing how manipulated they were. That realization hurts, but it also transforms, because nothing converts a skeptic faster than catching a liar red-handed. Now those same people are protecting your name, like they owe you redemption. They feel part of your story, part of the restoration. The internet loves a redemption arc, but what you created isn't redemption, it's revelation. You didn't change, they just finally saw. The truth was always there, but perception needed to catch up. And now that it has, the energy is flipping. Videos that used to mock you are getting ratioed. Comment sections are turning into battlegrounds where your supporters win every exchange. The tone of your mentions has shifted from mockery to analysis. People don't gossip about you anymore. They study you. They break down your mindset, your composure, your precision. You've transcended reputation warfare. Now your cultural homework. Your name trends not as controversy, but as reference. That's the highest form of vindication. Not just being right, but becoming required reading for resilience. Your haters can feel it. The loss of control, the empty echo of their own words. Every time they post about you now, they lose followers. People don't see them as truth tellers anymore. They see them as noise polluters. Their credibility graph is in free fall. They're being ignored, not because people forgot, but because people learned. They learned how to identify projection. They learned how to distinguish passion from obsession. They learned that the loudest critics usually have the least accomplishments. And once that awareness sets in, every lie looks amateur. Every attack looks like a cry for help. That's the real defeat. They're still fighting, but no one's watching. You didn't silence them. You made them irrelevant. And here's the part they'll never recover from. People have receipts now. Screenshots, timelines, context, evidence. The same internet they once used against you is now their courtroom. Every contradiction, every emotional outburst, every hypocritical post. They're all archived. Your defenders don't even need to argue anymore. They just present history. That's the ultimate psychological humiliation, to lose credibility by your own documentation. You're not even fighting them. They're publicly self-destructing through their own track record. It's poetic. You became the mirror they can't escape, the reminder that every falsehood leaves fingerprints. Notice how the world's memory works. It forgets lies quickly, but remembers truth indefinitely. The moment your consistency outlasted their noise, your name shifted categories. You went from target to reference point. People use you now in conversations about integrity. They say things like, "Look how they handled it. Look how they never responded. That's how you win." You've become the example people use when explaining composure under pressure. That's legacy-level influence. You didn't just change minds. You reprogrammed the standard for how credibility operates online. Now, every time someone tries to smear another person unjustly, your story is mentioned as the counterexample. That's immortality in digital culture. But there's a deeper layer to this shift. It's not just about your name being cleared. It's about the energy behind your name transforming. Before, your name triggered gossip. Now it triggers defense. Before, people whispered your story like scandal. Now they speak it like scripture. The tone changed from rumor to reverence, and once tone changes, perception follows. You've entered the stage where reputations turns into gravity. You don't have to reach for validation anymore. It orbits around you. Every post, every move, every quote from you now carries authority because it's been pressure tested by hatred and survived. You are no longer someone who went through controversy. You are someone who transcended it. And that difference is everything. Your supporters can sense that transformation intuitively. That's why they're louder now. They feel like they witnessed injustice unfold and correction arrive. They're emotionally invested in your vindication because it validates something in themselves. They've all been misunderstood, misrepresented, lied about. And watching you rise again gives them a blueprint for their own healing. You didn't just debunk lies, you gave people hope. That's why defending you feels personal to them. You've become the collective comeback story. For everyone who's ever been underestimated, that's not fame, that's alignment. And alignment lasts longer than hype. Meanwhile, your haters are trapped in their own paradox. They can't move on, because admitting you won would destroy their identity. But staying stuck makes them look obsessed. Either way, they lose. You've boxed them in psychologically. If they keep talking about you, they fuel your name. If they stop, they disappear. You control the oxygen now. That's the highest level of reputational dominance, when your enemies can't exist without mentioning you. Their relevance depends on your existence, while yours thrives regardless of theirs. You've inverted the hierarchy completely. And what's terrifying for them is how effortlessly it's happening. You're not campaigning, not posting exposés, not ranting. You're just existing. Your results are arguing on your behalf. Every headline, every collaboration, every new project is another nail in their credibility coffin. Even neutral observers are noticing the imbalance. One side is building, the other is complaining. One side produces proof, the other produces noise. Eventually, everyone realizes which side history favors. You've turned the long game into an art form. You understood that patience isn't weakness, it's timing. And your timing was perfect. Because now, Every piece of gossip that used to damage you only amplifies your legend. The contradiction is too strong. People hear the old rumors, then see your current success, and the math doesn't add up. That cognitive dissonance forces them to question the source. That's how belief systems collapse. You've triggered a psychological chain reaction across audiences. People who once mocked you now correct the others. People who once avoided your name now use it to gain clout. You're in the rare position where your authenticity is currency, and your story is the audit trail that exposes deceit. The funniest thing is watching your old critics quietly pivot. They're trying to align themselves with your energy now. They'll never admit it, but they're studying your cadence, your strategies, your delivery. You became their subconscious teacher. Even the ones still pretending to hate you are secretly influenced by you. That's power beyond perception. It's infiltration. You're in their thoughts, shaping their moves without even engaging. You've transcended from opponent to archetype. That's when the war is over. Not when your enemies fall silent, but when they start imitating you. And while all this unfolds, you're calm, detached, observing, because you already knew the truth would handle itself. You trusted reality more than reaction. You understood that the loudest energy always burns out first, and you were patient enough to let them exhaust themselves. Now the battlefield is empty, and you're still standing, unbothered, undefeated, unmoved. That's what makes people defend you so passionately. They saw how much restraint it took. You didn't retaliate, you recalibrated. You didn't gossip, you grew. You didn't post paragraphs, you produced results. You gave them no drama, just demonstration, and the world respects demonstration more than dialogue. Your story is now the ultimate case study in public redemption without apology. You didn't grovel for forgiveness. You proved why you never needed it. You didn't seek pity. You demanded accuracy. You didn't explain yourself. You embodied truth so clearly that explanation became redundant. That's the formula every genuine soul learns eventually. People can debate your character, but they can't debate your consistency. And consistency, when stretched across time, always wins the credibility war. That's exactly what you did. You stretched your proof across enough seasons that lies couldn't survive the weather. Now the entire dynamic is inverted. Every time your name trends, people rush to your defense before you even have to say anything. Entire communities self-regulate your reputation. That's social immunity. You've built a defense mechanism made of humans who believe in your integrity more than propaganda. They fact-check before assuming. They dig before reacting. They protect before criticizing. That's not luck. That's earned trust. And in an era where attention is currency, trust is gold. You've built an economy around your name that runs on credibility. That's why your haters are broke in influence. They're operating in emotional debt while you're rich in evidence. The algorithms can feel it too. The content defending you gets engagement. The hate posts flop. The data itself is taking your side. That's when you know you've shifted reality. The numbers confirm the narrative. Views, shares, comments, sentiment, they're all trending toward your favor. It's digital karma in motion. The truth doesn't need PR when the algorithm favors authenticity. Every platform now rewards your presence because you embody what the audience craves. Proof of strength, proof of calm, proof of self-control. You are the rare example of how to win without attacking. And as the months pass, the distance between you and your critics becomes unbridgeable. They're stuck replaying an old storyline while you're already in a new genre. You're evolving faster than they can slander. You're writing chapters they can't interpret. That's why people defend you. It's not just about sympathy. It's about alignment with progress. You represent evolution. They represent entropy. The audience always bets on evolution. That's why your defenders aren't random. They're the future, the thinkers, the creators, the ones tired of negativity. You're giving them vocabulary for vindication. The proof is everywhere. Podcasts dissecting your strategy, threads analyzing your growth, articles revisiting your old controversies only to conclude you were right all along. Reaction videos titled, "We Owe Them an Apology." You're living in the era of recognition, the era where people realize your character aged better than anyone's opinion. And that's what destroys your haters the most. Their words expired, but your essence didn't. You outlasted their relevance. You didn't just survive defamation, you turned it into documentation of your strength. Every insult archived online now reads like an accidental compliment. Every attempt to destroy you is now an entry in the history of your resilience. And deep down, you knew this was coming. You could feel the shift long before the world caught up. You could feel the guilt building in your ex-doubters. You could feel the jealousy turning into awe. You could feel the air changing, people going from maybe they're crazy to maybe they were right all along. That's what it feels like when reality catches up with perception. You don't celebrate, you observe. Because you understand this isn't luck, it's justice. It's the natural consequence of alignment between truth and time. So now, as people defend your name across platforms, as your supporters multiply, as your haters vanish into digital dust, you realize something profound. You never needed revenge. You just needed endurance. You didn't have to expose anyone. They exposed themselves by trying to destroy someone unstoppable. That's why your credibility doesn't need protection anymore. It's self-sustaining. It runs on proof, on presence, on peace. You've become a living rebuke to everyone who thought defamation was a strategy. You proved that no matter how loud the lies get, truth has infinite patience and infinite precision. And that's where we are now. The turning point. The moment where your haters are forced to coexist with their own irrelevance. The world has decided. The jury of public perception has ruled. The case is closed. You are vindicated, and from this point forward, every time someone tries to bring your name up negatively, the crowd doesn't even engage. They laugh, because nothing ages worse than lies, and nothing ages better than proof. So let them talk if they want. Their voices are background noise in your victory soundtrack. The defenders have taken over the narrative now. The energy belongs to you. You didn't just debunk all the bullshit. They did it for you. You've officially entered the phase where the truth doesn't need you to speak anymore. It speaks in your results. It speaks in your aura. It speaks in every person who once doubted you, but now defends you without hesitation. You've become the embodiment of poetic correction, the quiet triumph that makes liars irrelevant and believers louder. And trust me, this isn't their downfall anymore. It's your coronation. Because when the world watches someone rise from public doubt to undeniable proof, it's not just success, it's prophecy fulfilled. You've become the case study they quote when explaining why credibility can't be destroyed by opinions. You've turned defamation into documentation of your endurance. Every rumor that once tainted your name now reads like a relic of ignorance. People revisit the past and laugh at how blind they were. The same clips that once fueled mockery are now used as lessons in patience, in perception, in resilience. You've officially become the reference point, the one people bring up when they say, "Remember how they tried to cancel them?" Look at them now. You didn't just win back your name, you turned it into a fortress. Every syllable of your identity now carries authority, and even the doubters hesitate before speaking it wrong. That's what happens when your truth outlasts everyone's attention span. The world is realizing your composure wasn't luck. It was design. You didn't retaliate because you knew time was already building your case. You didn't explain because you knew proof doesn't speak in paragraphs. It speaks in legacy. And now, that legacy is visible in every corner of your world. Projects thriving, people aligning, strangers defending you with more passion than those who once claimed loyalty. That's the kind of energy that can't be manufactured. It's earned through consistency. They wanted to assassinate your reputation, but all they did was immortalize it. They gave you publicity, and you turned it into proof. They gave you hate, and you turned it into heat. They tried to frame you, and you turned it into a portrait. Now they're forced to live in the museum of your aftermath, surrounded by evidence of their own misjudgment. Your defenders are multiplying because the truth has momentum now. It doesn't need protection anymore, it protects itself. You're not a controversy, you're a correction. You've become the balance to the era of misinformation. People are tired of false narratives, tired of outrage economics, tired of weak minds using gossip as currency. And you became the alternative, the proof that truth can still trend, that integrity can still dominate algorithms. You represent everything the modern world forgot how to recognize: consistency, dignity, proof without panic. That's why they defend you now. It's not just your name they're protecting, it's the idea of fairness itself. You've become a symbol of balance in a culture obsessed with distortion. And the haters? They're collapsing under their own archives. Every old lie is aging badly. Every exaggeration looks desperate in hindsight. People are rewatching their old videos, rereading their tweets, and cringing. Their followers are leaving, sponsors disappearing, credibility disintegrating. You didn't have to clap back. Their karma came pre-scheduled. That's the precision of truth. It doesn't strike immediately, but when it does, it's permanent. They can't rewrite what the world already sees. You've dismantled their illusion by simply continuing to exist beyond their predictions. You're living proof that falsehoods are temporary, but reputation built on truth regenerates endlessly. You've officially become immune to defamation. Every attempt to stain your name now highlights the attacker instead. That's the curse of lying about someone consistent. It always circles back. Now look at how they act when your name comes up. Awkward, quiet, defensive. They used to smirk, now they swallow. They used to gossip, now they avoid the topic entirely. Because every conversation about you reminds them how wrong they were. You've reached that psychological stage where silence becomes your revenge. They can't even pretend confidence anymore. The world knows who was right. The audience knows who was real. And their credibility, it's at rock bottom. No recovery possible. You didn't destroy their careers. They destroyed their own by betting against someone the truth was destined to protect. Every post they made, mocking you, is still there, collecting dust, reminding everyone how perception changes when time tells the truth. You don't even have to correct them. Reality already did. The irony? You're not even celebrating. You're just focused, unbothered, still evolving. Because this was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving yourself right. You never wanted revenge. You wanted accuracy. And now, you've achieved it. The scoreboard doesn't lie. The metrics don't lie. The perception doesn't lie. You're standing in the clarity they tried to bury, and the light is unforgiving to those who once lived in shadows. You've outgrown the battlefield. The debates, the noise, the pettiness, all of it looks microscopic from where you stand now. You're not part of the narrative anymore. You're above it. They still talk, but their words don't echo. They evaporate. Because people only listen to voices that resonate with truth. And your frequency is unmatched. You've entered the era where your name doesn't need defense. It defines itself. Every win speaks louder than any argument. Every act of grace silences another rumor. Every day you rise, you prove that the truth doesn't just survive, it dominates. You didn't rebuild your reputation. You reinvented what a reputation means. You taught people that respect isn't earned through popularity. It's earned through proof, repeated over time. You didn't chase redemption. You became it. That's why you're untouchable now. Not because you're loud, but because you're accurate. The more they talk, the more they confirm your legend. The more they attack, the more people defend. You've created a self-repairing image. Every lie strengthens it. Every insult adds shine. Every doubt becomes fuel.